Midtown, 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 Midtown. Hey.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome back, Misfits, and welcome back to a new episode. Today, we are continuing the Dreams and Vision series.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and we're talking about... I was going to say Ezekiel.
No.
I
mean, a little bit, but it's John.
Yes, we're going to talk about John. So we're piggybacking off of the Ezekiel episode and talking about Revelation. Maybe that's what I meant to say.
Yes. Like, it has some relation to
I know
Ezekiel,
what we're doing. Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know what podcast is.
I know what we're doing. So yeah, we're going to piggyback off of Ezekiel and talk about Revelation. So Revelation is a book of predictive prophecy written by John, aka John the Revelator. Maybe some people have heard that song. Have you heard it?
I don't know.
There's like a song.
Okay.
John the Revelator song.
I'll have to check it out. I might have heard it. And I don't know.
I can't remember anything other than the fact that I think the chorus is just John the Revelator.
Oh, I don't think I've heard it then.
Yeah, I don't know. If I find one, I'll link it.
Okay.
But so Revelation, the word Revelation comes from the ancient Greek word apocalypsis, otherwise known as apocalypse. The word apocalypse means a revealing or an unveiling. So that's just what Revelation is. I know that a lot of people have trepidation about the book of Revelation. That rhymed. And it's a little scary. I went to a Baptist school when I was a kid, like pre-K to 6th grade. And I was terrified of Revelation. It was just like, I don't know. I never read it as a kid or whatever. But I just felt like, I don't want to know what the end of the world is like, because it's just like death and tribulation and just like
it's
horror.
like talking about the end, so like you don't want to hear about that.
No.
So especially as a kid, like no, like people die and then like, you know.
Yeah, especially if you're raised in a very religious school or church or whatever.
Fire.
It's just like, nah, I'm cool. I'll be surprised.
I'll just be here and I'll be ready. And
it's one of those books, one of those books where it's like pick your own ending or pick your own whatever, like that.
It's like, no, surprise me. I don't want to know the options.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Surprise,
when it comes, it comes,
I'm
and
here.
it's fine.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's so many like stories and movies and all this about apocalypse, right?
True.
That they paint this picture of like it's the worst thing ever.
That's
and,
true. So if you've never read the Bible and you've only watched the movies and stuff, I can see why child me was like terrified.
Yeah, it's like, wait, but I've seen movies and I've heard people talk about apocalypse, and that sounds scary. And it's like, why would I want to read a book that's about that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good call. Good call. Thank you. for like,
just
past Fran is like real. Yeah, past Fran is real like, oh, I understand now. So, yes, so that's what Revelation means. And so specifically, we wanted to talk about the similarities mentioned in Ezekiel and Revelation when it comes to the throne and the cherubim.
Right.
So we just
kind of wanted to look at both of those.
To do it. Yeah. First, we're going to recap Ezekiel, and then we'll go into Revelation. So Ezekiel 1, chapter 1, verse 5 through 12 says, and again, this is in the NLT, "From the center of the cloud came 4 living beings that looked human, except that each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and their feet had hooves like those of a calf, and shone like burnished bronze. Under each of their 4 wings, I could see human hands. So each of the 4 beings had 4 faces and 4 wings. The wings of each living being touched the wings of the beings beside it. Each one moved straight forward in any direction without turning around. Each had a human face in the front, the face of a lion on the right side, the face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle at the back. Each had 2 pairs of outstretched wings, 1 pair stretched out to touch the wings of the living beings on either side of it, and the other pair covered its body. They went in whatever direction the Spirit chose, and they moved straight forward in any direction without turning around." So that's Ezekiel. That's what we talked about last episode.
Right.
If you want more context, please go listen to that episode and then come back to this one because it'll make more sense.
Yeah, we give a little bit more information about this.
Yes. So in Revelation 4, we see the mention of a throne and cherubim similar to Ezekiel's vision. So Revelation 4 verses 2 to 6 mention thrones. So we're going to look at that first. The Bible says, "And instantly I was in the Spirit, and I saw a throne in heaven and someone sitting on it. The one sitting on the throne was as brilliant as gemstones, like jasper and carnelian. And the glow of an emerald circled his throne like a rainbow. 24 thrones surrounded him, and 24 elders sat on them. They were all clothed in white and had gold crowns on their heads. From the throne came flashes of lightning and the rumble of thunder. And in the front of the throne were 7 torches and burning flames. This is the sevenfold Spirit of God. In front of the throne was a shiny sea of glass, sparkling like crystal. Wow.
Yeah, very elaborate.
Very. So although we see a throne in Ezekiel, based on what I just read, here in Revelation it is completely different.
Right.
It's a whole different
a lot more
situation.
Detail
Yes.
And just, a lot more.
Yeah. So the one in Ezekiel was more of a mobile throne, right? Because it had wheels and such, if we want to call it that. And here we don't see any wheels with eyeballs or anything like that.
Yeah, it doesn't mention any of that.
This is more of a stationary throne.
Yeah.
Right. The other one was a little tabernacle-y. This one is permanent. Look, it was a tent, not the building.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was tenty.
It was tenty.
This one's permanent.
Yes. We're gonna dive a little bit deeper. So the throne is seemingly in the middle of this area, right? Surrounded by 24 other thrones. The 24 thrones, John is telling us that there's 24 elders sitting on these thrones. Now, who are the elders? We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know who these people are. Yeah, we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
There's like speculation and things, and they might represent this and that. We're not going to get into that. No. But what we do know is that there was 24, and they were wearing white robes and crowns on their heads.
Right.
That is what we know for sure.
That's what we know.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the other part of that is we get into the living beings, which we also see in Ezekiel. And then, of course, we're going to read about it here in Revelation chapter 4, 6 through 11. It says, in front of the throne was a shiny sea of glass, sparkling like crystal. In the center and around the throne were 4 living beings, each covered with eyes front and back. The first of these living beings was like a lion, the second was like an ox, and the third had a human face, and the fourth was like an eagle in flight. Each of these living beings had 6 wings, and their wings were covered all over with eyes, inside and out. So, of course, we're going to contrast this to Ezekiel's vision, where he described the cherubim as looking like men or having the appearance of men, having 4 faces and 4 wings, arms of a human under their wings, and 4 faces were that of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. So John tells us that they're covered with eyes, front and back. He also describes the 4 faces, man, lion, ox, and eagle. And he says that they have 6 wings, and their wings were also covered with eyes, inside and out.
This part is just like, wow.
So, like, you see the similarities, but also, like, very different as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the biggest difference here are, like, the 4 versus 6 wings, right? And then, of course, all the eyeballs.
There's a lot of eyeballs.
So, like, Ezekiel had eyeballs, but they were, like, in specific places.
Right.
And then this one just says they had eyeballs all over the wings. And it's
because there's 6 wings.
Yes. So there's more wings.
And with a bunch of eyeballs. And he says front and back.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So, like, are they, like, covered? Are the wings made of? Like, it's just so many possibilities.
Whew.
That it's just
so much to consider. Like, my mind doesn't like it.
Yeah. And it just feels like, are they looking at you? I don't know.
Or are they blinking?
Are they
No.
blinking?
Too much.
Anyway, but yeah. So Ezekiel described them as being on the wheels, what he saw, and John on the angel's wings. So we see the difference. Like, there's eyeballs in both visions.
Right.
But just how they're, where they're placed, I guess.
Yeah, placement.
So this really makes sense as to why every time an angel appears to a human, they say, don't be afraid.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, these are cherubim. And as far as we know, cherubim are always around the throne of God, not necessarily like messenger, like angels, like Michael and Gabriel. But, I mean, it makes you kind of think, right? Like, if it's a variation or there might be similar, if angels are similar to them, then you can kind of understand why maybe an angel would say that before appearing to a human.
No, I fully get it.
Yeah. Like, if their wings are anything similar to this, I would run.
Yeah, because that's interesting. We do see a lot of encounters where people were encountered by an angel, right? Or where like the angel was sent to give them a message or whatever. But we don't see a description of the angel, especially to this degree.
Yes. They just say it's an angel,
right?
But they don't. I don't think any of them say like, oh, it had wings, it was this tall, it looked like a human.
It doesn't
but
say
with
characteristics.
Yeah,
like sometimes it's like the form of a man or
yeah.
something, or if it says an angel of the Lord or the angel of the Lord. But I don't think. I'm sure there are some descriptions, but not to this extent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so we think, okay, there might be some similarity. Again, we're just kind of thinking based on this description here,
Right.
how it could be some similarity. and
Yeah.
based on what these angels say.
I get it.
before.
Tell me not to be afraid,
Yeah.
because I will be afraid.
Because if I look at you, without you telling me that, I will be scared. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it might be a sight to see.
Yeah. You know what's interesting too? Obviously Jesus is like human, but
Yeah.
but the fact that when Jesus appeared to people, he didn't have to tell people not to be afraid.
I guess he knew like to appear as something like
Yeah.
similar or relatable, you know?
Yeah. I'm not trying to freak
So-
him out.
Like, no, I'm not going to come up with eyeballs everywhere. So,
Yeah. They did mistake him for a gardener that one time.
yeah. But just a side note, an important thing to remember is that both of these men are having visions and describing them based on how they can or know best, right?
Yes.
Again, our focus when reading all of this is not necessarily about identifying what each thing means, right? We're not trying to be like, oh, like you said, like the 12 elders, we can speculate, or there could be a lot of context of like why it's this or why it's that. But just focusing on the fact that these heavenly things are being described, and there's meaning in like there's a heaven, right? And
Right.
there's a throne in heaven. So I think a lot of times we get bogged down like, oh, this vision and it's crazy and all this detail, but it's like he's seeing heaven, and that's what we should focus on, right? Like we're gonna be there. Like
Yeah.
it's part of like the place that God's preparing for us.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. And something I think about too when I read these, or like, you hear these stories and you read them and you're like, eyeballs everywhere. But you also have to understand like as human, you try to like describe heavenly things. Like you're like, I don't know if I could.
Right.
And of course it's going to sound crazy. Maybe they weren't eyeballs, but that's just what
Yeah.
he
Could have been gemstones.
yeah.
Could have been.
yeah, but that's what he could relate it to, right?
Right.
Like these look
'Cause
like
he's trying
eyeballs.
to help us understand.
Yeah, like if you know what eyeballs look like, that's what we're on the wings, and we're like, that's creepy. But maybe in his head he's like, well, that's the closest thing I can think of to what this looked like. So we won't know.
Yes.
Actually.
John tried his best, and so did
yeah.
Ezekiel. And also, mind you, the Bible has been translated several times, right? We all
Yes.
have different translations and such. So it's just take it with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
fact that, like Yadi said, number one, heaven is real,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is great. This is
It's
great news for
Great
all
news.
of us.
Yeah, that's the thing we should focus on.
And number two, God allowed these men to have vision so that we could, because they were writing it down, like they knew that this was going to be scripture, right? So it's like, hey, tell my people this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more stuff that goes on in Revelation, of course, but don't, like she said, don't get bogged down by the things that we
every single
don't understand. Seek clarity.
Yeah.
But it's not really that important for you to know or be able to imagine the angel in your head. Yeah.
So we continue with the rest of this verse, verse 8 through 11 from chapter 4. It says, day after day and night after night, they keep on saying, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God, the Almighty, the one who always was, who is, and who is still to come. Whenever the living being gives glory and honor and thanks to the one sitting on the throne, the one who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down and worship the one sitting on the throne, the one who lives forever and ever. And they lay their crowns before the throne and say, you are worthy, O Lord our God, to receive glory and honor and power. For you created all things, and they exist because you created what you pleased. So we wanted to include this because of what awesome insight we have into how God and Jesus are being glorified in heaven. And of course, we can use these as examples and use these exact words from earth and praise them too. And it's just so mind-blowing that it's like a way, like a heavenly cheat sheet, if
It
you will.
is. It's
Like,
crazy.
you can do this too. Like the cherubim and the beings in heaven are saying this, we can too.
Yeah. It's just, it's like stupid mind blowing, to be honest.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you haven't been to heaven.
Yeah.
You are an earthly being. And somehow, because of the revelation that was given to John, we know what
have an
the
insight.
cherubim that are around God's throne are saying to him. That's insane.
Yeah. And then we can do that too.
Yeah, we can literally
Yeah.
say the same thing, which is, it's so cool. So cool. We should just all start rehearsing from when we get to heaven, like memorize it now.
Yeah, like they're always around the throne. Like that's what we want to be too.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like let's do it now.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's memorize it, guys, and then we'll be ready when we get when it's showtime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just be ready when that trumpet sounds.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just very cool. And it's yeah, like I said, it's just mind blowing to think about, to be honest.
Yeah, but just looking at these two visions, how like you can see like they're quite different, but you also see the overlap and the similarity. And again, just knowing like these are heavenly visions of what is to come, and how these men in their natural state, you can say, try to describe something that was supernatural.
Yeah, and like you said, like there's two different men from two different perspectives that have two different
Totally different,
backgrounds,
yeah.
and they were in
Different
two
times.
different situations, because we know that where John was like in the island, right?
Right.
Of Patmos or whatever.
Right.
And then Ezekiel is wholly in captivity, you know? So it's just like...
and Ezekiel was like way before Jesus or
Yeah.
anything, and then John was after, you know?
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
Very
going on.
contrast.
But yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about. So we wanted
Yeah.
to kind of contrast these two visions, and just they go well together. And it's if you've never read either of these books, of course we suggest that you do.
Yeah.
But now you can go back if you want to go back and look at the harmonies, right,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
these situations. You can definitely do that. And then our next series, we're actually going to talk about situations where people encountered angels.
Yeah.
So we're just going to keep the train going.
So it's like similar to the visions,
Yeah.
but a little bit more specific, if
Exactly.
you will.
There's going to be a lot of don't be afraid.
Yeah. So this was kind of preparing you for that.
Exactly. So we hope that you enjoyed this episode. As always, this is Fran.
This is Yali.
We are the Midtown Misfits, and we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.